I believe that if we were to go back to the European Union and say, well, people didn't like that deal, can we have another one? We won't I don't think they're going to come to us and say, we'll give you a better deal.
So it's no deal.
This is the deal that I think works for the UK.
I understand that, but people don't understand what is Plan B.
Well, we have to get through. I'm working on making sure that we get this vote through in Parliament. I think if we don't get the vote through in Parliament, then what we will see is more division and more uncertainty. And there are people in Parliament on the other side, some who will argue for no deal, some who want to stop Brexit, some who want to frustrate Brexit.
But what's your plan?
What I want to do is deliver Brexit and deliver it with a good deal. If we don't, my focus at the moment, all my focus is going to be on getting obviously we've got to finalise the deal on Sunday with the European Council. But beyond that, it will be on getting the vote through.
But how can MPs know how to vote if they don't know what Plan B is? You have said this week, and some of your cabinet colleagues have said the same, it's no deal or no Brexit. What is Plan B? Because you can't guarantee you can get it through.
But the focus of the government at this point in time is rightly on getting the deal through and on saying to people, when you come to look, I think what MPs need to focus on is this the right deal for the UK? Is it a deal that delivers what people voted for? I believe it does. As I've said.
Yes, but what is Plan B? What's top of the list? No deal or no Brexit? If you could just answer that. It's come through on several messages. If you could just answer that.
Well, from my point of view, there is no question. Personally, there's no question of no Brexit because the government needs to deliver on what people voted for in the referendum in 2016. So, as far as I'm concerned, the UK is leaving the EU on the 29th of March 2019. But people will have heard, if they look at what's happened in Parliament, they'll have heard there are voices in Parliament that actually want to frustrate Brexit and want to stop Brexit. I have to paraphrase this because I have to get to Heather Devon, being very patient. It's no deal. It's not no Brexit. I believe this is the right deal for the UK.
But Plan B.
And my job is to deliver Brexit for the country because that's what people voted for.
Heather in Devon, welcome to the programme. You're through to the Prime Minister. What is your question?
Oh, hello. Yes, having ignored the public for over 2 years, how can we trust you now is what I would like to know.
Well, Heather, I'm very sorry that you think that we haven't been listening to the public over the last 2 years. I mean, I have been, obviously the first thing to listen to is the vote that took place in the referendum in 2016. And I recognise that was a 52%, 48% vote in terms of leave versus remain. But I think Parliament had said to the public, we want you to make this choice, and people chose to leave. And I think it's right in terms of trust in politics that we do deliver on that. But what I've been working to do is to deliver on that vote, but to do it in a way that does deliver a better future for everybody. So does recognise some of the concerns that people who voted to remain had about our future and protects jobs.
Heather?
Thank you.
There you go. You've answered that question. Let's bring in Brendan. Let's get more people on the air. He's in Hartlepool. Brendan, what would you like to say to the Prime Minister? What was your question?
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Afternoon, Brendan.
It's the 39 billion quid we're going to send over to the EU. Is that figure final, or can it go up? Because I read some reports saying if we go over the 21-month transition period, they might ask for another 10 billion. So that's the first question. Is the 39 billion the total amount we're going to pay? And the other question I'd like to ask is, how actually are we going to pay the 39 billion? In one go, or are we going to pay it over a few years? Or because the reason for asking that one is we don't know what type of deal we're going to get from them, because are we going to start negotiating after the 31st of March?
Okay,
and
Brendan.
If we paid the money over, we haven't got anything to negotiate with, have we?
2 questions there.
Yes. First of all, Brendan, the 39 billion is what's been agreed between us and the European Commission. This was a discussion, a negotiation about what we legally owe the EU when we leave. And you may have seen at the time we started these negotiations, people were talking about 100 billion. Actually, we negotiated it down to 39 billion. The question about whether or not it's any more the part of this, of course, enables us, there's legal obligations we've got, but also part of this money enables us to have what's called the implementation period or transition period, which means there isn't a cliff edge for business. This is about protecting jobs in the UK as we leave the EU. You asked about whether it would be paid in one go, and some of it is to be paid up front and some of it is to be paid over a period of time. So it isn't just one lump sum of 39 billion that is paid over to the European Union. Now, the other question you asked was if we extended that transition or implementation period, would that entail paying some more? Now, the circumstances in which there's been all the discussion of extending that implementation period is if we haven't got our future partnership with them, our future relationship in place at end December 2020. And in that circumstance, we could extend the IP, we could go into what's called the Northern Ireland backstop to meet our commitment to the people of Northern Ireland, or we could have alternative arrangements. If we went into the IP, they would ask for more financial contribution. If we went into the backstop, there would be no financial contribution.
Brendan, your answers satisfied?
Yeah, but you still haven't said how much we're going to be paying. Is it going to be paid over the next 30 years? Because I did read that somewhere, the 39 billion, a billion a year, or not.
Okay, so you want more detail on the time frame, Prime Minister?
Some of it is payment that is made more immediately. Some of it is payment that relates to legal obligations, which actually won't won't materialise until some years down the line. But in relation to certain things like some pension contributions. So there's an actual sort of there is a timetable of payments. Some of those will materialise, as I say, in a few years' time. But crucially, we'll no longer be obliged, once we're outside, to send vast amounts of money to the EU every year, and then we'll be able to spend it on our own priorities, as we've already announced, like the NHS.
Several people have been in touch, Prime Minister, to ask, again, if you don't get the deal through Parliament, which people are worried about, because, as you say, lots of them want the end of uncertainty, or they may even like this deal. They may be on board with it. They may have read all 500 pages. But if you can't get it through, which you can't guarantee, no politician can, will you resign? Emma, I'm focused on actually ensuring that we do get this deal through Parliament, because I believe that this is absolutely the right deal for the UK. And so, and you've staked your premiership on it. Well, but this isn't about me. It's not about you. Can I explain why people have asked it this morning? Because that has come in as well. They would like to know, it's in the public interest, you've kindly taken calls this morning, what is next? And I asked you about what was next in terms of the deal. But in terms of leadership, people loathe uncertainty. You have staked your premiership on it. If it does not get through, this is the only question that only you can answer. Your other colleagues have been asked this, they can't answer it. Will you resign if the deal doesn't get through? But you see, as I'm sitting here, I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about getting a deal through that delivers for the people of this country. That's what drives me, and that's what is at the forefront of my mind. And when I say that I'm going to be focused over the next few weeks until the meaningful vote in Parliament at getting that vote through, yes, I will. I'm going to be doing other things too. I'm going to be around the country. I'm going to be explaining the deal to people up and down the country, because I think this is important. It's not just about the MPs in Westminster looking at the deal. It's about people across the country understanding what the deal is about. So that's my focus. So no plans to resign? My focus is on getting this deal through. Nigel, what would you like to say? He's called in from Tamworth. Good afternoon. What's your question?
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Afternoon, Nigel.
Could I state firstly that I did vote to remain and accepted the outcome of the result? And to be totally honest, I think you've possibly got the best deal you could have got, given the cards you were dealt. And perhaps you should be asking Christopher Pincher to be issuing copies of the Tamworth Manifesto to your colleagues. But my question is, when you were sat around David Cameron's cabinet table and the idea of offering a referendum on our future in the EU was raised, what advice did you give to the Prime Minister? And given your present predicament, will David Cameron be receiving a Christmas card this year?
Very good question.
Yes, he will be receiving a Christmas card this year, and he, as will others that I worked with over the years.
Jacob Rees-Mogg?
All my Conservative colleagues I send Christmas cards to. And can I just say, it's not just any old Christmas card. It's a Christmas card designed by a child in my constituency. We run a great... I'm not sure if the BBC will allow me to mention the Maidenhead Advertiser. You might...
You've done it.
See,
You're the Prime Minister. We'll see what we can do.
We run a competition through the local paper, and there have been 3 winners this year. So the Christmas card will be designed by a local child.
With the question, though, from Nigel, what advice did you give David Cameron when he was Prime Minister, when you sat around that cabinet table when he called the referendum?
Well, I thought that there were some key issues in the referendum. I thought immigration and end to free movement was one of the issues that people were really concerned about. But I also spoke to, and we actually, when David was doing his, if you remember, his negotiation prior to the referendum, raised the importance of security and some of the cooperation we have with Europe on matters to do with terrorists and criminals. And of course, that's one of the elements we've got. A lot of people focus on things like the trade relationship in our deal, but actually there's a section on security, which is really important because it's about keeping that cooperation going.
I'd like to ask you, woman to woman, very briefly, if I may, before we go to some tweets. Are you sick of men resigning and leaving you to clear up the mess? David Cameron, Boris Johnson, David Davis, Dominic Raab?
Well, I'm sorry when colleagues choose to resign. Obviously, they had strong feelings about this issue. They'd campaigned to leave the European Union, and they'd done good work in their time in the cabinet. So I'm disappointed when people feel it necessary to resign. But my focus is always on what is the end point that we're seeking to achieve here, and it's the right deal for people up and down the country.
But did you go home and swear about it ever?
No, it's up to people's choice. And you talk about people resigning. Actually, I've also had a huge number of messages, really kind messages for people up and down the country. People who sent me flowers. One little 9-year-old, Gabby Ballas, actually baked a cupcake with my face on it.
Saying, just your face? Was there a message with it?
No, it was... Well, yes, there was a message. It said that her dad had said I'd had a tough week and she wanted to make me smile.
Well, there you go. Did she? And she seems like she has. We've got a question here from Shirley McBrien, who's tweeted using the BBC News channel #BBCAskThis. Keen to get some tweets in. She asks, why is the Prime Minister ignoring the will of Scotland? We voted to remain in the European Union.
Well, different parts of the country voted in different ways. So Wales voted to leave, Scotland and Northern Ireland voted to stay in. Obviously, and different constituencies voted in different ways. My constituency voted to remain, other people's constituencies voted to leave. But we joined the European Union as the United Kingdom, and we will leave the European Union as the United Kingdom. And that's why it's right to take the view that came from across the whole of the country, the whole of the United Kingdom, and that overall view was to leave the European Union.
Another one's come in on Twitter from Max, who's also used the #BBCAskThis, the BBC News channel hashtag. He's tweeted to say, Prime Minister, I've noticed that no Brexit has crept into the PM's vocabulary within the last couple of weeks, along with no deal. Why has no Brexit, just to repeat the quote, why has that suddenly become one of her options?
Well, it's not one of my options. It's one of the things I'm trying to point out to people, that there are, if you listen to the debates that take place in the House of Commons, there are MPs in the House of Commons who want to frustrate Brexit and want to stop Brexit. And I just think it's important that people know that. And
some people say it's like a threat, though.
No, for me, I'm clear that we will be leaving the European Union on the 29th of March next year. I want to ensure that those people who are trying to frustrate what people voted for aren't able to do so. But I want us to leave on a good deal for the UK, and that's what I believe we've got with the European Union. And obviously, I'm going back to Brussels tomorrow. There'll be the European Council on Sunday. But crucially, this brings an end to free movement, brings an end to the European Court having jurisdiction here in the UK, gives us back control of our borders, our laws and our money through not sending vast annual sums to the European Union, but also enables us to do some other things like come out of the common agricultural policy, common fisheries policy, which have been things that haven't been working well for the UK.
Well, we'll see what support you get again in the Commons, as you've talked about. That's the crucial thing to get through. Laura Beth has got in touch. What's your question for the Prime Minister, Laura Beth?
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. I just wanted to say, first of all, I fully support the Brexit deal and think we all need to get behind you and support you with that. I'd just like a little bit more information about what's being done to protect Gibraltar's British sovereignty.
Well, thanks very much for that question, Laura Beth. And you may have seen that this has come up more of an issue in the last couple of days. We're very clear about, as the UK, that when we negotiate on these matters in relation to our leaving the European Union and our future, we do so on behalf of the whole UK family, including Gibraltar. We're very clear that our position on Gibraltar and its sovereignty has not changed and will not change, and it's about the wish of the people of Gibraltar. And what we've done, actually, in looking at this phase of the negotiations, the withdrawal agreement and the political declaration, is actually we've been working with the government of Gibraltar and with the government of Spain to put into place some measures that actually relate to Gibraltar, and we've worked very closely with Gibraltar. But our position here in the UK as the government on the sovereignty of Gibraltar has not changed.
OK, thank you very much for that question. Let's bring in Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hello, Michael. You're live to the Prime Minister. What's your question, please?
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Afternoon.
We all know that you voted to remain in the EU and that you've now accepted the referendum result to leave. Without any political waffle or convoluted answer, just between the two of us, what, in your honest opinion, is better for the UK, your deal or the deal we had if we'd stayed in the EU?
Well, I honestly believe that I'm getting what is a good deal for the UK. And I recognise that there were aspects of being in the European Union that caused people real concern, and free movement was one of those. When I came out, when I gave a speech at the beginning of the referendum campaign when I explained why I was voting for Remain. And actually, I wasn't one of those who said, if we leave the European Union, it will be really bad for the UK. I actually said the sky won't fall in and we will be able to it'll be a different world for us outside the European Union, but it will be a good one. And I believe we can really build on what we're doing. And one of those examples is actually the trade we can do, trade partnerships we can develop around the rest of the world. I genuinely believe there's a bright future for this country and our best days lie ahead of us.
Michael, has the Prime Minister actually answered your question?
No.
Prime Minister, you've not answered Michael's question then. Go on.
I appreciate what you're saying, Prime Minister, but I would still like to know what you think, whether we would be better off if we'd stayed in the EU or we will be better off with your deal.
No, I think we will be better off in a situation which we'll have outside the European Union, where we have control of all those things and are able to trade around the rest of the world. I was one of those people who said that, as I've just said, that it wasn't going to be the case that outside the European Union we were going to have the sort of problems that some other people said we would. Look, I think, but it's different. You say, are we better off? Actually, it's a different sort of environment and a different approach that we'll be taking to things. What will make us better off is not so much about whether we're in the EU or not. It's about what we can do for our economy. It's about what we can do for our prosperity. That's about things like our industrial strategy as a government. It's about ensuring we're at the leading edge of key technologies and developments such as, autonomous vehicles, battery technology, artificial intelligence. These are the things that will make us better off. So it's less about whether we're in or out of the European Union. We want a good trade relationship with the EU, good trade relationships about the rest of the world, but it's what we do. Our future's in our hands, and that's what's important.
But can you say it's better than being in the EU? Just simple, yes or no?
Well, I think I just did, actually.
Well, no,
Emma.
but
yes, but
yes
it's
or
look,
no?
but the first thing is it's going to be different, and I believe we can build a better future outside the European Union.
In the future. Let me go to Sarah. I want to get one more call in while we have you, Prime Minister. Thank you. Sarah, you're through to the Prime Minister. What's your question, please?
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. For what it's worth, I'm a Remainer myself, but fully accept the situation we're in. My husband and I this morning were imagining that your days are pretty hectic at the moment. So my question for you is, what time do you get to go to bed at the moment, and do you go to sleep dreaming of Brexit?
Well, I certainly don't go to sleep dreaming of Brexit, I can tell you that. Interestingly, actually, last week I was in one of the prime infant schools in my constituency, and I was asked that question by one of the pupils. And I said, well, I quite often don't get to bed till midnight or after midnight. And I fear there were a lot of children who went home and said, Mummy, can I stay up till midnight because the Prime Minister does?
If you get this deal through very quickly, how are you going to celebrate with Philip?
Over the next few weeks, I've got the first thing is getting the deal on Sunday, and then we will be obviously getting the meaningful vote through. We will have a drink together.
Prime Minister, thank you very, very much. You've been listening to and watching a special edition of the Emma Barnett Show on BBC Radio 5 Live and the BBC News Channel.